I've got my rifle in my lap and I'm disoriented and I've got a headache and I don't know which way to go to get back to the ranch house. And this is like pre-flip phone days. So this is like
Yeah,
Nokia
you're not like looking at
brick
your
phone. No.
You're not tracking the way you came in.
No.
Yeah, no.
So I could hear some vehicles off in the distance. I was like, I'll just walk to the road. Somebody will stop and help me.
Yeah.
Well, as it turns out, in the hill country of Texas
Yeah.
with cloud cover, you can hear a semi-truck from a long damn ways.
Oh, yeah. And
So-
it's not like a sidewalk all the way to that road. It's like,
No, it's brush.
yeah.
And there's so many animals out at night in Texas, and I'm already gun shy now because, I
You
just
just got charged by
got
a pig.
rocked
Yeah.
by a pig. So anyways, I take off and hike for hours. I finally get to this highway. I'm so proud of myself. And turns out if you've got what looks like a sniper rifle and you're in camo and you're covered in blood, nobody wants to stop for you in the middle of the night in Texas.
That's
Surprise,
weird,
surprise. Yeah. Didn't think that one all the way through. These are stories of outdoor adventure and expert advice from folks with calloused hands. I'm James Nash, and this is the Six Ranch Podcast. A hot drink can become cool in two primary ways, through conduction and convection. Conduction occurs when two objects touch each other. Imagine holding a piece of ice. Before long, your fingers are cold and the ice begins to melt. That's conduction. Convection occurs when a gas or liquid moves from being different temperatures. When you heat water over a stove, the warm water moves up and the cool water moves down. That's what you're seeing when water boils, and that's convection. A stainless vacuum bottle prevents conduction from occurring by creating a void between the walls of the bottle, thermos, or cup and the outside air. It prevents convection by keeping all the liquid inside at the same temperature. That's how a Stanley product keeps your cold drink cold and your hot drink hot. And they've been doing it for 110 years. The Six Ranch Podcast is brought to you by Stanley 1913, and you can check out their new and classic line of products at stanley1913.com. Casey Richmond
Yep.
from Eberlestock. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. How's your hunting season?
This year was a little rough.
They're all a little rough, aren't they? Like the harder you try, the rougher they get.
Yeah, last year I think was just I got lucky a couple times.
Yeah.
And then it, kind of changes your mindset. And so this year felt extra tough. I was trying to hold out for some bigger animals, which, you kind of regret it sometimes afterward if you don't actually tag out. And but I had fun. I mean, I got a lot and got a lot of good experience, which I think is probably the most important thing for me still. So it was fun.
Do you feel like targeting bigger animals offers you more enjoyment?
Sometimes, I mean, I could have tagged out the first morning of my archery elk hunt on a spike, and then I wouldn't have been able to get close to a couple big bulls that I got close to, a couple weeks later. So yeah, I think that enjoyment and frustration. I mean, there were some pretty frustrating times when I totally thought I was going to get a shot at a nice bull, and then, something happened. And
well, tell me a story about one of those times when it almost happened, because, a lot of the stories that people tell is just when it goes well. So we get lots of examples of it looking good, but the reality is different. Reality is most of the time it doesn't work out.
yeah,
So,
yeah, you don't usually go killing the first morning, you go out, especially something you're trying to target. Yeah, so the spot I was hunting it wasn't an easy spot to get into. First of all, it was a 3-hour drive on a dirt road, pretty not super well maintained dirt road in your truck, and and then I had my motorcycle in the back.
ooh, what kind of motorcycle?
It's a dual sport, an old DR 650.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like hunting off motorcycles.
It's fun. I had never done it until this last fall. And
Underrated.
yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, you get an experience before the hunt. I mean, you're waking up at 4 a.m, you're just ripped. The trail getting up there was pretty gnarly. And I just have the stock headlight. And,
Yeah. Which isn't great.
And that DR 650, the first gear is fast. I mean, I'm pinned going up these super loose, steep, gnarly things with my bow on my backpack, and just like an adventure before the sun even comes up. So it was fun. It was a little stressful, like the first couple of days, just like, I was stressed that my bow was going to be all jacked up just from the ride, but I never like laid the bike down or anything. And, it let me get into a spot that, I didn't run into any other hunters. So that tells you, and it's really not that far from here, in town. So like as the crow flies, but, pretty hard to get into. And then you drop down a couple thousand feet into it, which like the whole time you're dropping, you just know if you kill something, you got to hike that bowl straight up back out of there. And so in the morning, I'm kind of on these ridges, and this happened multiple times, but I guess the most frustrating time for me was kind of located a nice bowl, kind of pushing these cows up from some fields in the bottom to go bed. And I had the wind wasn't weird or anything. It was pretty predictable. I could see where they were coming up. I kind of knew the little timber patch, the north-facing spot where they were going to probably bed. So I kind of wasn't able to cut them off, like where they were. The wind was kind of weird in the bottom, that they kind of like crossed this bottom where the wind was kind of swirling down there.
What time of day?
This was probably closer to 10.
Okay. So that's an interesting time of day for elk hunters, because it's a good time for you to catch them moving.
Yeah.
And if you're close enough to get in there, you're going to be really tempted to, because it's like, holy crap, I saw elk, they're on the move.
I know where they're at. Like I can see it. Yeah.
And, your inclination is going to be to want to get in there and mix it up right at that time, but that's also a really volatile time for wind.
Yeah. It starts moving around, and so it starts warming up. And
it takes a lot of confidence in yourself to wait, but
Well, I'm sure I had made that mistake many other times before that, and so I actually thought I was, and I think I still did the right thing. I waited.
Good for you.
Yeah, and I just kind of played it smart. I went through like a whole wind checker probably that weekend. Just
leave
triple
a trail
check.
of dust everywhere you go.
Yeah, I was like, okay, because it was kind of, there were like these little fingers going down this like kind of north facing like face, I guess, that there's this long ridge, and
so there's some timber in there.
Yeah, it wasn't like a pine timber. It was like, I'm trying to think what
juniper,
tree.
Maybe
it wasn't juniper. It was, almost like willows.
Oh, okay.
But just so thick. Like you had to be on like going into that stuff, you had to follow some sort of elk trail, and even those elk, you're like, how the heck did they get down this thing? Right. You can tell they stepped there, but like it's just like a spider web full of.
So that changes the game, because now if you're going to get a shot, it's going to be right in your face, and you're not going to have any time.
So that opening day, I passed on that spike. So sorry, I'm going back like a weekend, I think. Passed on a spike, and then like an hour later, I thought I heard some like animals moving kind of below me in this north-facing thing, and I was kind of moving to this saddle. So I was like, I'm going to go check that out, and sure enough, there were some group of bulls in there, just all together, no cows. And it was like that same kind of brush. Just one ridge over, so it's super thick stuff. And I'm just doing everything I can to like sneak in there. Not like sneak. I'm trying to sound like an elk. So I'm doing some little like cow calls and kind of breaking some branches while not trying to like jack my bow up. Yep. And then I got a raghorn 5-point to come literally 3 yards from me. And it was so thick I couldn't even draw. And I would have shot that bull. I was with another buddy, and so I was like, well, it'd be kind of nice to knock one out opening day. And then, I wasn't going to pass on that bull, but I just couldn't even get a shot, and he was 3 yards. I almost could have like jabbed him with the arrow.
Oh, what a feeling, right? To be that close to a bull.
It was crazy. I even have so I turned on my phone, I hit record, like I started the video and just put it on my bino harness. Yeah. Cause I'm like, I think this thing's coming in. Yeah. And it like, I knew it was going to be close, because he wouldn't be able to see me until he was right there anyway. And I was like trying to move so I could get my elbow back. I'm like, what am I going to do? And I'm just looking around. I could hear him coming, and the wind's good. So I'm like, he's going to come all the way in. I'm like, he might walk right over me. And no matter what and it was super, super steep. So anytime I'd like try and move to see if I could be able to draw right there, like I'm like sliding down these like, slippery branches and stuff. It's all like wet. And And it was wild. I'd like look up and I'm like, he's, 3 feet away, or 3 yards away. So and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can see, he's got nice brow tine, just like looking right at me and not knowing what I was. And we just looked at each other for like a whole minute. And I'm just like, dang it, what do I do? And so didn't get a shot on him. So anyway, fast forwarding back to the next weekend. So yeah, it's 10 a.m. or something. See this nice bull. He's definitely mature 6-point and pushing a bunch of cows. So definitely a bull I would be super happy with. And so it warmed up. It was kind of a normal mid-September day. Warmed up, the thermals started coming up, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait just like another half hour, make sure like the wind's not gonna do anything weird, and then I'll try and slip in there. And I could tell they were still in that little pocket. And there was kind of like, I kind of took the top of the finger where there was a little, it wasn't so thick. I was able to like actually walk down it. I spent probably, 2 hours maybe getting down 100 yards. Mm-hmm. So I was at that point probably about 30, 40 yards. Still couldn't really see him because it was so thick, but I could hear him and knew they were right there, and the wind was good. And
again, what a feeling.
Oh, it was cool.
Like if you could bottle that,
yeah,
I would be such a junkie.
I know. It's like when you're like, it's like after it's over, like that encounter's over, you're just like, man, I wish it was just like September all year,
Yeah.
It's cool.
Honestly, that feeling is my favorite as far as like actually being on a hunt. It's that moment before. It isn't the execution of a shot.
Because that's almost just like you're just going through the motions that you've practiced at that point.
Hopefully.
It's almost, yeah. That's
but that moment where you're not sure quite how it's going to go, and you're just flooded with all the feelings of possibility of what may or may not happen. I guess the heaviness of the potential right then is my favorite feeling. That's what gets me coming back.
Do you focus on, because I always try and catch myself from not thinking about like, but I always naturally like start thinking like, oh my gosh, like I could take this bull home today, like this, I might shoot the biggest bull of my life today. Like,
yeah.
But I try and tell myself like, you're not, you haven't shot him yet. So
dude,
I don't know.
I start talking to myself as positively as I can. If I have the wherewithal to like actually gather myself up and be composed, I try to tell myself things like, you've practiced for this. You're a good shot. You know what to do next.
That's good.
Because if I don't do that, then I'll start telling myself things like, well, what if he takes a step while you release? Or what if you can't follow a blood trail with the amount of dew that's on the brush right now? Or what if you punch the trigger? Or, hey, don't do this or don't do that, or remember to do this.
Yeah.
I'll start spitballing all this negativity. And
it's distracting, probably.
It's distracting, and I'll also manifest it. We were watching videos a minute ago of somebody, getting on their first bull and riding the bull.
Yeah.
If you look at the ground when you're bull riding, you'll end up not only on the ground, but on that part of the ground. Like you just claimed that piece of real estate with your eyes.
You start flying right towards the,
So I think,
I grew up surfing, and you go where your head moves. So like when you do a big turn, like on a wave, you initiate the turn with your head. And
right.
So, it's the same thing mentally though. I feel like
same thing mentally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like if you turn your head mentally when you're getting close to a bull, that's the direction that everything's going to go. And there's things that are outside of your control.
Yeah.
And you need to realize that too. But a lot of misses occur because people are afraid that they're about to lose an opportunity, and they force the miss rather than accepting the situation and sort of manifesting that hit and speaking positively with themselves.
And it's funny because I haven't been hunting elk that long. It's probably my sixth, seventh season, something like that. And the first few seasons were unsuccessful for me. And I feel like every time I'd, get a bull to start coming in, or I'd like find some elk, it was like the fear of like, oh my gosh, this is an opportunity. This might be my only opportunity of the season. Like I might, I don't want to screw this up. And I would just be thinking that negative thoughts, and then that happened every time. So,
okay. So they're 40 yards away.
Yeah.
They're in the brush. You can hear them.
Yeah. And I kind of got to a point where I was above the trail that they took up there, and I was pretty sure they were going to take back down to the fields in the evening. So instead of trying to push through the brush and cow call my way in there and hope that, the elk I get closest to is that herd bull, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to try and wait. With the wind's good, I'm going to try and wait right above this trail. I had a shooting lane, and my, I thought I had a perfect plan. I kind of did. I mean, I don't know. It was a pretty awesome setup. And so I nocked an arrow and ranged everything, made sure I kind of knew where everything was. I, had my wind checker out, so I just made sure I wasn't going to somehow blow them out of there. And I kind of just sat there, and I sat there for, let's see, so it was probably noon by the time I got to that spot, and I'm trying to think what time shooting light was, but I sat in that same exact spot, and if it weren't so thick, I wouldn't have done this, because I've done this too many times to make this mistake usually, but I left my pack up at the top of the ridge.
Oh yeah.
So I didn't have any water, didn't have anything. And it was pretty hot and kind of a dry, hot thermal wind. And so, 6 hours later or something, I'm just still sitting there and trying to, glass up see if just trying to keep myself busy. I think I glassed up a bear, kind of walking around on the other side of the drainage there, but I heard the elk start getting up 30 minutes before sunset probably, so I probably had an hour left of legal shooting light, and so I kind of got ready. I mean, I was like, oh, I got this perfect, I bet the cows are going to file out, and then that bull's going to be right there. I'll stop them with a cow call, and boom. But it didn't happen like that. They just were moving around, but still in that thick spot, and then it got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm being too scared. I need to move in on them and be more aggressive. And so I kind of started making my way, making sure with the wind at my face, but making my way closer to them. And I could start hearing other bulls sound off and stuff. So animals are starting to move more. And I'm like, okay, I don't think they'll be too worried about a cow coming in to check them out. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, the problem with this situation is I don't know exactly what happened. Obviously I know they didn't come into my call, and I didn't get close enough to shoot, but that thick alder or willow, whatever kind of stuff was at the bottom there, was just so disorienting, and I just kind of lost track of them. And then somehow, I mean, I could hear their footsteps. I couldn't tell exactly which way they were going out, but I mean, I either bumped them out or they just took a different route out. And I was like, are you kidding me? I knew where these elk were all day. I sat on them for 6 hours, kept walked in on them for 2 hours and sat on them for 6 hours. And then the opportunity was just gone like that. And I was I was 40 yards from maybe killing the biggest elk of my life. And so that was probably the most frustrating day of the season for me, just because I thought I had it all figured out. And then, within 30 seconds that somehow my whole day's plan was just wait, what happened to that whole day? It just, the elk went a different way. So
it's memorable though.
Yeah.
So we're using the Recon Bono harness.
Yep.
There's that little pouch on the front that you had your phone scope and stuff in. So did you just unzip that and stick your phone in it?
Yeah. So I zipped it. So I kind of zipped it from each side, and then it was able to prop up. And I actually filmed a handful of encounters that way this season.
That's really cool. I hadn't thought about doing that.
Yeah. There
are a bunch of times where it's oh, something neat's about to happen, and you could totally just hit record and go hands free, and then that's
the depth
sweet.
of the harness too. I did get a couple videos where I think I even drew on a spike in the video, but of a spike coming in. Might have been the day after that from that story, but where I just put it right in front of the binos, so in the actual main pouch, and it held it in perfectly too. So
nice.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I actually did have a GoPro that I left in my backpack. I was gonna try and put a GoPro on my head, and I feel like that always ends up distracting me, or I always think you know what? No, I'm here to hunt. I don't need to get this. I feel like if I'm gonna waste time screwing with the GoPro, and then just the elk's gonna be gone or something.
Right.
So, but sometimes I regret not filming more, because it is cool to watch it and relive it, kind of. Dude,
and then having a pack up on the ridge for 6 hours in the heat.
Yeah, it was brutal.
That's rugged. I've played that game before with my pack for sure, and just been like, oh, I'm coming right back.
Yeah.
And then you don't. The most ridiculous, though, is I used to take my boots off to go on stalks.
Yeah.
And then that stalk turns into like a 4-mile endeavor. And now you've got 4 miles to get back to your boots, and then you can't find your boots.
Oh, yeah.
I don't play that game anymore.
So what navigation app do you use when you're hunting, or do you
all
use...
of them?
Okay.
So this surprises people, which is sort of flattering, I guess. But my sense of direction is awful.
Oh, it is?
So bad. Yeah, I never know which direction north is. I don't possess that skill at all.
That's like one of those things that's like, I don't know when I realized it, but it's like definitely something I think I was born with, but I also am very conscious of it. I'm always actively trying to figure out where I'm at. If I'm not driving, I still have the maps app open just to see what we're driving by or something, or hunting, same thing. So
yeah, I love that. I use maps all the time, and I use lots of navigation aids. I've got GPS in this watch, this Garmin Tactics watch, and it's got maps in there. I have Onyx, I've got Base Map, I've got Go Hunt, I've got redundancies for all of this, and I'll often carry a paper map and a compass as well.
Nice.
And I know how to use all of it, but I've been lost before. I don't like it. It's an awful feeling.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things that bothers me the most about being lost is that if you do so seriously enough, now other people have to put themselves at risk to come find you, and I can't tolerate the thought of that at all.
Yeah.
So,
or screwing up someone else's hunt. If your hunting buddy has to leave a good spot to come try and find you or something.
And having to spend a night out on the ground someplace is really crappy.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one of my favorite getting lost stories. I was in the hill country outside Austin, Texas in college. I think I was a freshman or a sophomore in college. And this ranch had some pigs on it, and they said that I could go shoot any pigs I wanted. I was like, sweet.
Yeah.
The rifle that I brought was a 22-250. It was a gun that I shot really well, and it was great for coyotes and stuff like that. I'd never shot a pig in my life. And I went out and I found this group of pigs, and I snuck up on them, and I shot this great big boar right in the shoulder and knocked him down. I was like, cool. Pig hunting's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm good at it.
Yeah.
And I go over there, and I find a blood trail, and then lose it, and find the blood trail, lose it. And eventually, as it's starting to get dark, I don't know whether he was just running towards me or whether he was actually charging me, but here comes this boar. And I shot him, and I was backing up as I did so, and I fell back, and I hit the back of my head on a rock, and I knocked myself completely unconscious.
You're by yourself?
By myself. So when I came to, it was pitch black, completely dark. It was overcast, so there wasn't a star in the sky, no moon, no nothing.
Kind of thick, brushy stuff.
So I've got this dead pig in front of me. I've got my rifle in my lap, and I'm disoriented, and I've got a headache, and I don't know which way to go to get back to the ranch house. And this is pre-flip phone days. So this is Nokia
you're not looking at your
phone. No,
you're not tracking the way you came in.
No.
Yeah, no.
So I could hear some vehicles off in the distance. I was like, I'll just walk to the road. Somebody will stop and help me.
Yeah.
Well, as it turns out, in the hill country of Texas
Yeah.
with cloud cover, you can hear a semi truck from a long damn ways.
Oh yeah. And
So-
it's not like a sidewalk all the way to that road. It's
No, it's brush.
Yeah.
And there's so many animals out at night in Texas, and I'm already gun shy now because I
you
just
just got charged by
got
a pig.
rocked by a pig. So anyways, I take off and hike for hours. I finally get to this highway. I'm so proud of myself. And turns out if you've got what looks like a sniper rifle and you're in camo and you're covered in blood, nobody wants to stop for you in the middle of the night in Texas.
That's
Surprise,
weird,
surprise. Yeah. Didn't think that one all the way through. Finally, this rancher pulling a stock trailer, he stops about a quarter mile past me, backs up, and he says, "You look like you're in trouble." I said, "I am. I don't know where I am. I'm trying to get back to this ranch." And, he's like, "Do you know their phone number?" And I said, "I don't, but I can call home if I can borrow your phone, and then they can call, and, somebody will come get me."
Yeah.
So this guy lets me use his phone, and that's what I do. I call my little sister back in Oregon, say, "Hey, get a hold of these guys. Tell them I'm on a highway somewhere. Come get me. Can't be that many of them."
Yeah.
And this guy takes off. I tell him thank you. And I lay down, I pull out the bipod of my rifle, set it down, and I lay down on the side of the road, and I'm just like, I'm so tired and relieved, and it's going to be fine. Well, it turns out one of these cars that I'd like tried to wave down earlier had gone ahead and called the cops. So as I'm laying there, some headlights pull up, and I think, okay,
sweet, here's the ranchers.
Here's my ride. And I get up and grab my rifle, and this dude gets out behind his door, and he draws his pistol on me and gives me some instructions, which I followed to the letter, as cool as I could. And he's like asking me for ID. I don't have my wallet. Turns into this big ordeal. And
was it just a single officer?
Yeah. But, he was able to determine pretty quickly that, I was being honest, just telling him I was in this really weird situation.
Yep.
And he gave me a bottle of water, and I hung out for a while, and my stepdad came and picked me up, and that was the end of that. But I think that's
Were you able to go get the pig at some point?
I didn't even know where it was. Wouldn't know how to get back there if I tried. And
especially like walking out in the dark. I mean, how would you even know?
I had this thing. I had a video camera too called a Flip Video. I don't know if you ever remember those. They like predated the GoPro.
What did it look like?
It was like this rectangular thing, like a long box of cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
And all it could do, it could shoot 60 seconds of video or 60 minutes of video. And it had record and stop, and that was it.
Was it like, did it record to an SD card, or what did it record to? Like a tape? One of those tapes?
I think you had to plug it in to a computer somehow. I don't think there was a card that you could remove from it.
So it had its own little like internal.
Yeah.
I don't remember that, but that sounds pretty awesome.
But yeah, it was pretty janky. But it was, GoPro wasn't a thing yet.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'd been recording some of this hunt like through my scope and everything. And then once I got to the pig with this Flip Video, and I'd lost it somewhere in like that scuffle of me falling down. And I did try to go back the next day to find the pig and find my video camera. And I got in some of that same country, and I was like, man, I don't know which way's left and which way's down.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm getting out of here. So somewhere in the hill country of Texas is an old video camera and a hog skeleton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool to see that video.
Yeah. So that's me getting lost.
Yeah, that sounds pretty I mean, you got lucky. It definitely could have been worse, like hitting your head like that and getting knocked out in the middle of.
Sure, could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
Could have been a lot worse.
That does suck though.
But no, I was going to ask you, when you're doing like a motorcycle elk hunt like this, and you're basically bringing a day pack because you're coming in and out in the same day.
Mm-hmm.
But you might need to be packing out elk by the quarter.
Yep.
What pack are you carrying?
I've been using the tall mainframe
Okay.
as like the base, and I've been using that for almost 5 years now.
Okay.
And then depending on the hunt, I switch up, what pack goes on the frame. For that particular day, I was using a 2,500 cubic inch vapor pack, which just zips onto the frame. And then I did like the weekend after that, I was tired of like riding in and out every day. And then also it's like, you're dropping a couple thousand feet and you got to climb that back. And I wasn't getting back to camp till before midnight, and then, waking up at 4. So I started packing in camp, like the 3rd and 4th weekend, I think, of the season. I think we had 4 weekends this season. And so for that particular, when I'm packing in camp, I was using the 5,000 cubic inch, but same frame and everything. So
I used that 5,000 on a bear hunt this spring. That I spent a few days out. And it was cold. It snowed. So I had a lot of cold weather gear with me too. And that's a tremendous system. Like the F1 mainframe plus the 5,000 is really good for a 3-4 day type deal.
Yeah, and I before I worked at Eberlestock, I used a bunch of different packs. There's a lot of great packs out there. I think the mainframe, its strengths are the simplicity of when you get an animal down and you need to strap meat on the pack or on the frame, it's either 2 zippers or 3 buckles. I mean, it's a simple system, and then the comfort with weight is just, from what I've experienced, unmatched. As long as you have your pack adjusted right. But I mean, that the mainframe pack packs weight like as well as any pack I've tried, and
better.
Yeah, I mean it's great. And we, like you said, bear hunt a lot. So if I'm running a bait, sometimes we'll pack in 120 pounds of whatever bait we're using, usually donuts.
And a 50-gallon drum too, right?
Yeah. I did. I think the worst pack in with the mainframe I've done, or heaviest, it was pretty uncomfortable too, was the 50-gallon bait barrel. that I had loaded with like a bunch of other stuff, and I didn't really realize how heavy it was going to be and how awkward. But I did have a scale because I was just curious to see how much actual bait we were going to put on the site that first day. So I weighed my pack and it was 163 pounds, which was brutal. And it's like an uphill. It's not super far. It's like a mile, but uphill to the bait site, and it was gnarly. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, it's nice and simple. I trap also, and so I even use the mainframe as my base for my trapping pack, I guess you could say, because I just walk the river usually for checking my line, and I'll usually just put a 5-gallon bucket on the frame. It has that shelf right there, and run a strap or two around the bucket, and it's good to go.
Are you trapping mink, otter, beaver?
Yep, all those.
Nice.
Raccoon, tons of muskrat. I want to get into like some dryland kind of stuff, coyote and bobcat at some point, but I live right on the river, just 40 miles downriver from here at the office, so I can walk from my house and go check my line, depending on how many traps I have out, but I can be checking traps within 2 minutes of leaving my house. So
great.
Yeah, works out. I take my little 5-year-old son now to go check. He loves it. So yeah, it's fun.
Nice. Lots of conibears.
Yeah, conibears and a lot of foothold. I started doing like the like a drowning setup for beaver, and once I figured that out, it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, conibears are cool. Like if you find a good like a slough that you have a bunch of beaver or otter using, it's pretty fun to like channel them right into your trap. Or my favorite though, I think, is a caster mount set where you see like beavers kind of making a caster mount, and you go put like a caster from a beaver you trapped last week right there, and put a foothold right there with a drowning setup. And it's so, I don't know, it's not like when you are hunting and you get something, but because it's always like a surprise when you're going up to check your traps. But when you pull like a big beaver out of like off a drowning rig, and because you pull it up and you're like, I don't know if there's gonna be one. When you see like the fur come up, you're just like, no. It's like such a good feeling, because you feel like you especially when you're like learning too. Like I'm still learning a lot. I've only done it for a season or season and a half, and so when you like change something up and then it works, it's so like satisfying.
Well, trapping is mostly just hope and disappointment.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that, especially, I mean, and then it's addicting because you're like, I hate checking the whole line and not getting one animal. So then you're like, I got to put more traps out.
Yeah.
Which is more disappointing if you still don't get anything. Yeah. But your odds definitely, obviously, at some point will go up the more traps you have if you're putting them in the right spot.
And if you make a set, sometimes I'm like, oh, yes, it's perfect. Yep. This cannot fail. And then you come back to check and you're like, how?
Yeah.
Yeah. And coyotes, dude. Coyotes are the worst.
Yeah, I've watched a bunch of coyote trapping videos. I personally haven't really done it yet, but
they'll make such a fool out of you.
Oh, it's like it's like, oh, I know exactly where your trap is. I'm gonna walk everywhere around it.
Yeah. Yeah, their senses are really powerful. And
I know.
They're so smart.
So I feel like I'm not really like, I trap. I guess I'd say I'm a trapper because I've trapped a ton of river animals, but I feel like I'm not like that legit yet because I haven't really gone and done the coyote.
You're legit.
Stuff.
You're legit in my book.
Well, thanks. I think it would be cool. I mean, obviously the wolves here in Idaho are I mean, I hear more wolf howls than any other sound in the woods.
Yeah.
Usually where I'm hunting, but it'd be pretty cool to get good at like trapping wolves. And the Fish and Game Department really does want more wolf trappers. Like they're constantly trying to like get people to sign up for training and get people certified.
I came over and took the Idaho wolf trapping class, and I loved it.
Yeah.
That was really well done. They go through all the legalities of it, and then they provide a lot of instruction on how to trap wolves.
Yeah.
And they send you away with resources for it. Hats off to the state of Idaho. You guys have done a wonderful job with that. Yeah,
they do. I mean, and I like that they recognize that there isn't a need for, the wolves to be managed, just like every other animal is technically managed, and they really need the help. I mean, and so they do go out of their way to give you help or tips or guidance or whatever, even
Yeah.
with on the river and stuff. Like I get calls from the town I live in, so I do some nuisance calls and stuff too. And the game wardens, the conservation officers by my house are always like very encouraging, and they'll tell me where they see, some problem beavers and stuff. And I don't know, they've been really good to work with. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be. Yeah, once word gets out, word really gets out. I'm on my way to Mexico to go spearfishing right now. But right before I left, my grandma was asking me to come trap some beavers out of the creek next to her cabin.
That's awesome.
And I was like, it's going to have to wait a little bit,
Yep.
Grandma. I'll get on it when I get
Yeah,
back.
the fur will just get more and more prime, right? I'm actually I'm going to go check out a snowmobile tonight. There's a couple spots where I go bear hunt on these creeks where it's just like, what was I calling it? Just like beaver land. I mean, it's just like dam after dam after dam, like all the way up miles and miles up these creeks. And I'm like, there's like thousands of beavers up here.
Yeah.
But there's no way to get up there unless you're on a sled in the
Right.
winter. So I'm doing it. I'm getting a sled just to go trap beavers up there, basically.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's
It'll
awesome.
be fun. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah. I've been using the Gunslinger 2 pack quite a bit. And I was debating about using that on my snow bike this winter. Because I like to trap off that snow bike a lot.
Oh, cool.
It's
Yeah.
a wonderful platform to lay a trail in the snow and to be able to carry a limited amount of gear. But as opposed to trapping with a snowmobile, as far as land trapping, they might walk down either ski track. They could go really anywhere within.
I don't really think about that. You're
your
kind of making
snowmobile track.
you're making a trail for them, right?
But
Yeah,
with the snow bike, it's like I know exactly where they're going to go.
Yeah.
So it's pretty powerful. That Gunslinger 2 pack, though, I ended up guiding a few rifle elk hunts this year that I wasn't planning on, and I carried 3/4 out on that pack and
3 elk quarters?
Yeah, not at the same time.
Oh, okay. I was like, holy.
But
Yeah. No, it does. I mean, it has that same, we call it the Intex 2 frame. It doesn't have the shelf.
Yeah.
The newest Gunslinger doesn't have the shelf, but it's the same structure on your back. And so it can carry, guys put massive rifles in the scabbard there, and it's a comfortable pack. I use that in the F1, the main frame for trapping. The Gunslinger 2 is like such a versatile. I use that for coyote hunting.
Super
I use it,
versatile. Yeah.
I travel with it sometimes. I mean,
great predator pack.
Yeah.
And it will fit as a carry-on.
Yep. Tuck the scabbard up into the pack. Yep.
And so you can fit it into that rack of above
the overhead,
the airplane or whatever, the overhead. Yeah, really really good pack. Mine, I need some warm weather so I can run my pressure washer again and kind of knock some of the chunks off of it before I put it on another airplane. But yeah, I think that is a outstanding pack. I wouldn't do multi-day stuff with it, but
no.
There's been this need for a long time for a pack that you can day hunt with and still be able to pack a quarter.
Yep.
And a lot of people have taken stabs at it and come up short.
Yep.
And, there's been some sort of catchy designs and stuff that you think you could carry a quarter with. And I've carried quarters with some of those lightweight day packs in the past that have like a, scaled down frame.
Yeah.
And it is miserable.
Oh yeah. It's all great until you have to actually strap that weight on.
Totally.
Yeah.
So if you have a pack like that now, I'd encourage people to, go ahead and take it down to the gym and put 2 plates on it, throw 90 pounds in there, and then just go walk around the block. Like, you don't have to throw miles on and go, go ruck yourself or anything crazy like that, but just go walk around the block of the gym with 2 plates on, and in that time, you'll know whether this pack is capable of serving as carrying an elk quarter or not.
Yeah, and one thing, no matter what brand pack or whatever pack you're using, I think a lot of people don't take the time to make sure that their pack's fitted correctly, and I think a lot of people probably run their packs in a way that like it's so much more uncomfortable than it could be. Like, there's a lot of packs out there that are going to fit great. They're going to be really comfortable for 90% of the time you're using it. As long as it's adjusted correctly. Obviously, a heavy pack out's a heavy pack out. It's going to be painful. You're going to be sore. But if everything's adjusted right, like you shouldn't.
We're trying to limit the pain.
The pain, and you shouldn't be injuring yourself from the weight. You shouldn't be wasting a bunch of energy because your pack's moving around and because it's not tightened and this a certain strap's not tightened down, or anyway, there's the 5 or 6 different main important adjustments that every hunting pack probably has. And I see so many people, like pictures of people hunting and their backpacks are just like not adjusted at all. And I'm like, oh man, like if they strap an elk quarter on that thing, it's going to be really, really uncomfortable. So
the best way in my experience to get a pack adjusted correctly is to go to somebody that knows how to do it and have them help you.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to try and do it yourself. I mean, definitely you'd have to do it in front of a mirror because you got to be looking and see kind of like how it's fitting on you. But if you have another person that knows what they're doing, it's going to help a lot.
But if not everybody has that, right? So what advice can you offer to people that, are now wondering, is my pack adjusted correctly for me? Like what can you tell them to be able to help them a little bit?
Well, first, on all of our pack product pages on our website, Eberlestock, we do include, or every product page has a how to adjust your pack video on there. We're obviously using Eberlestock packs, but it's pretty generic in terms of if you watch that video, you should have a good idea of what adjustments to make on your pack, regardless of the brand. But the most important thing that I see, I mean, a lot of people just don't understand, like, or they get the concept, like, yeah, the weight is supposed to be on your hip belt, right? Like you're supposed to take the majority of the weight off your shoulders, and people just don't get the hip belt in a position that it's going to be able to like support the weight. So they'll have it way too low, and they need the hip belt above their hip bones or on their hip bones so that like there's something there for the pack to bite onto, if that makes sense. So that because otherwise people will basically be like sagging their backpack, and so all that weight is just going to end up on your shoulders, and you're going to end up in a lot of pain, and you're going to want to take your backpack off after 100 yards and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so,
your arms are going numb.
Yeah, you can't use trekking poles because you can't lift your arms. And
yeah,
I don't know. I think there's probably a lot of great videos out there on how to adjust a backpack, but I think people need to spend, the 5 minutes it takes to make those adjustments, and your experiences out there will be so much more enjoyable.
Yeah. And your guys' packs are easy to make those adjustments on.
Yeah.
Some packs are pretty intimidating. Like
yeah.
after you make the adjustment, you're like, okay, screw it. I don't want to do that again. That took me, 25 minutes and my knuckles are bleeding.
Yeah. And I mean, if you have a backpack like that, there are some out there where you start even just like, okay, I have an elk down, I need to strap a quarter on, and it's like a 20-minute process to get that on. That's intimidating. Yeah. You're probably going to have to go to that brand's website to watch a specific video on how to do that.
And then those packs never get put back together correctly again.
Yeah, you see straps just like unbuckled that like definitely need to be buckled.
Yeah.
And our packs are simple. I mean, you're mainly going to adjust the height of your torso, so like where your shoulder harness meets the frame, and that's a simple just Velcro strap. We have a ladder system there, so a bunch of different adjustment points for your torso length, and then obviously your hip belt's easy to adjust, but let's see. And then you have your load lifters, which are going to be, a lot of people mess that up where they just crank them down way too tight and it puts way too much pressure on the front of your shoulder instead of just kind of limiting the amount of movement that the top of your pack has. People just kind of get carried away with the load lifter straps. And then the sternum strap is important just to not have your backpack, like the shoulder straps digging into your arms the whole time.
Yeah.
So
I will say with the sternum strap, it's a pro move that when you stop to take a rest, you can unclip that thing and it'll let your chest expand a little bit more, and you can sort of take that time to like fix your posture and really like let your lungs work, and then when you're ready to go again, clip that thing back up and go.
Yep.
Yeah. I like how there's not a war between your guys' Recon modular bino harness and the sternum straps on your pack. I've had that trouble in the past before where it's like, I've got to choose between these. I don't know which order they go on, and it just turns into chaos, but that's not a problem with your guys' stuff. It works together pretty well.
Yeah. And I mean, some people put the sternum strap behind the bino harness. Some people put it right above. It doesn't really affect the way that the Recon is designed. You can still get your binos out no matter how you put that sternum strap over it.
Pretty nice.
Yeah.
Pretty nice.
It's a lot different than like the older bino, what would you even call them? They're not bino harnesses, but like the straps that you'd buy where
Yeah.
if you put your sternum strap over it, you couldn't even get the binos
Yeah,
to your
you're
face. You
hosed.
know, yeah.
What does this hunting season hold for you? I mean, we don't know tag draws yet or anything, but
I have a pretty exciting year. So I'm actually we have SHOT Show, I guess the end of next week. We go down to SHOT. Straight from SHOT Show, I am going down to Sonora for a Coues deer hunt for a week.
nice.
Yeah, so that'll be fun.
So I just heard that Sonora got 26 inches of rain this year. They've been in a drought. The grass is really tall. And I just saw pictures of a 129-inch Coues deer.
Really?
Who's just massive. Craziest Coues deer I've ever seen. And
Yeah.
Coues deer typically don't do a lot for me, but this one did. I think you're in for a great hunt.
I've been just nonstop listening to people, other podcasts where guys just got back from a Coues deer hunt, watching, hunts on YouTube, and just trying to like consume as much Coues deer content as possible. This hunt just literally came out of nowhere. The guys from Montana Knife Company actually kind of are sending me on this hunt.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Cool.
I'm going with Tristan from MKC, and we'll be down there for a week. So that's a great start to the year. I mean, that was literally I found out 2 weeks ago that was happening. So,
Oh, awesome.
yeah.
Josh from Montana Knife Company,
Yep.
he sent me a Stonewall Skinner
Mhm.
because I was writing an article for Guns America about hunting knives, and really I've been seeing them around, and some of the other guides that I've worked with and hunted with have used them, and
Yep.
nobody's saying bad things, and I just wanted to know. I felt like it needed to be included in this article, and that is a great knife.
Oh, yeah.
That is a great knife. I've carried that knife a lot, and I think since then, I'm going to undershoot this to make sure that I'm not lying. I think it's 5 deer, but I'm going to say 4 deer that I've processed with this knife and an Oryx.
Sweet.
And it's still sharp.
You haven't even resharpened it.
I
And
haven't
it's-
touched the edge of it yet. I'm just waiting to see what it's going to take for this thing to no longer be sharp. That MagnaCut steel
It's
is
awesome.
incredible.
Yep.
So
It's
hats off to Josh.
yeah.
That dude knows how metal works.
He does. I started using the Speed Goat right when it came out.
I want that mini Speed Goat.
I processed 3 bears with that mini Speed Goat
Did you?
this last spring.
That's
that thing is a
that's
beast.
my kind of knife.
I love, and for trapping, I
Yeah.
did a lot of I did some raccoon, like 4 raccoon, a couple mink, probably 30 muskrat, and a few beaver with that same mini Speed Goat. I just love how small. I mean, you just put your finger right behind the tip right there, and you can just put it.
That's what I love about the Argali carbon knife.
Mhm.
It's perfect for my hand, for really precision work, for general work.
Yep.
And the blade contours to me look pretty similar.
Yeah.
The mini Speed Goat has more of like the old school sharp finger
Yeah.
profile.
Yeah. That tip is like super. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing that I think Josh is doing wonderfully well that people aren't talking about enough is the cases that he's using. Those Kydex cases. And
The
way,
sheaths. Yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah, and then the way that sheath can attach to a belt loop or to your pack,
Yep.
take it on or off really easily,
Yep.
use it in a lot of different places. How you carry a knife has everything to do with that knife's capability.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have a good way to carry it, you won't have it with you and you won't use it.
Yeah, it's like I shoot photos on every minute of every hunt I'm on, basically. And if I don't have my camera also on my shoulder harness, I'm not going to be taking pictures. You need your knife, you need your camera, whatever you're going to try and use, you need it accessible.
You have to be able to reach it.
Yeah, the sheath that they have, they just came out with kind of a modified version. It's just so, I've walked through the nastiest brush and everything, and that thing is just always right there. I can always, I can literally, it's like having a firearm or sidearm on your hip. I just know where it's at always. And yeah, they definitely have a good thing going there. And I've used every blade they've come out with, and I like all of them for different reasons, I guess, for different uses.
Yeah.
But and then obviously a lot of it comes down to if obviously you know how to process an animal well, and that's why your blade's still sharp. I mean, if you're cutting right into bone, that's going to dull any knife out there. But I have been super impressed with that steel that they've been using, especially that MagnaCut.
Well, that's going to be a great hunt, man. I'm excited for you. I hope you have an awesome time.
Yeah, I'm excited.
That's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
So send me some pictures. If people want to follow along in your life and see the photos and videos that you're getting, or follow along with what Eberlestock is doing, or try and find some of these videos that you're talking about to make sure that their pack is fitting them correctly so that they're not going to get hurt and they're going to get the most out of it. Where can they find this stuff?
They can start at the Eberlestock Instagram, and I run that account. And we post pretty frequently, pretty much daily on that. So you'll find out, any new products coming out. That's a good place to find us. And then just our website, usually our homepage, we'll have a slider, banners that, we'll have the 4 kind of, if something just came back in stock or a new item. And that's where you'll find a bunch of videos. We also have a YouTube channel that we're going to be, we have a ton of videos on there, but we'll be posting a lot more kind of in the field stuff this upcoming year. So,
cool.
If people want to check out our YouTube channel, that should be.
And I'll be contributing to that a little bit this year as well.
Yeah, we're excited about
which
that.
I'm really excited about. It's going to be fun. Okay, and then as far as following you personally, do you have an Instagram, anything like that?
Yeah, I'm always so busy posting for Eberlestock. I don't post enough on mine, but mine's just Casey_Richmond.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
So.
All right, man. Well, thank you for your time. And
thank you. It's been fun.
Man, if I hear that you went down there and shot a coos deer and I don't get a picture of it, we're going to be
I'll send you
Okay.
I'll send you an in-reach message from down there. Just like, buck down. I'll send you a picture when I'm across the border.
Okay. Thank you very much. I look forward to it.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share the show with a friend. You can also rate the podcast and leave a review. Your support allows me to keep doing what I love, which is meeting incredible folks and sharing their stories with you. For more content and photos, follow the show on Instagram at 6 Ranch Podcast or me at 6 Ranch Outfitters. This episode was produced by Emily Brannigan, with original music written and performed by Justin Hay. Art for the 6 Ranch Podcast was created by John Chatelain and digitized by Celia Christofferson. Tune in every Monday for a brand new episode of the 6 Ranch Podcast. I'll catch you next week.